All right, so we're going to let Dominique go ahead and get all logged in here. Perfect. She is joining us all the way from Mexico. And I have to say, many of our community members are already super familiar with Dominique because she has been so supportive and so incredible in just pouring value and knowledge into the community. But for those of you who don't know Dominique, Dominique is an award-winning financial planner, personal finance coach, speaker, finance expert, entrepreneur, and the founder of Finances Demystified. She has a strong passion for working with young professionals, entrepreneur, and people of all ages to bring their dreams to reality. Dominique, thank you so much for joining us today. And we are so grateful to have your advice and wisdom as we, head into talking about the coronavirus, COVID-19, and how it's impacting our members.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's like unfortunate we have to have this conversation, but it's great that you guys are putting this on because it's something that definitely needs to be talked about.
What should small business owners do from a financial standpoint to weather this storm? What are some of the things that we should be thinking about in regards to these changes and unanticipated changes to our cash flow?
Yeah, there's actually a lot you can do. And I think the first thing is really to kind of take a step back and kind of assess where you are currently financially, right? So as business owners, a lot of us, we are projecting out like, okay, this is how much money I'm bringing in for March. This is how much money we're bringing in for April. This is how much I'm bringing in for May. And for a lot of people, especially people I've spoken to, tens of thousands of dollars are being lost. And for a lot of people, this is what they needed to cover bills for the next few months, right? So I think it's really important to first kind of say, okay, how much am I losing? What are the gaps that I need to fill, right? Mm-hmm. So if you say, okay, I know I was going to bring in $5,000 this month, that $5,000 isn't going to happen. How am I going to fill that gap? Another really great resource, reach out to, the Small Business Administration, also your respective states. So I found another program for New York. So if your business is in New York, but basically they have a program, this is New York specific, that businesses with up to 100 employees may be eligible for a zero interest loan of up to $75,000 if you can document that you've had a 25% or more drop in sales in the recent weeks. Wow. And for businesses with fewer than 5 employees, so the mom and pop shops, neighborhood stores, they're going to do direct grants of up to 40% of payroll costs to help continue to pay your employees and yourself during the downturn. Reach out to your state, reach out to the SBA and see what opportunities there are to help fill those gaps for your business as well. Some other things that you can do. I think this is also a great time to increase your credit card limits. Okay. This is not something a lot of people are thinking about, but I had my client call the other day. I was like, call all of your credit card companies and increase your limits. And they got their limits increased. Now they may not need to access the increased limits on their credit cards now, but you never know in the next couple months, just to know that you have that money ready and available, you're good to go, right? So you can contact your credit card companies, request your credit card limits to get increased if you're going to do so, just to give you that extra kind of just financial room if you need it. Other things that you can do is if you don't have, a line of credit for your business, this may be a good time to look into one. There's tons of services and we can send links out for those that can help with that. If you are still a maybe full-time employee, or if you have a 401k set up, you can take, or consider taking hardship withdrawals from your 401k to kind of make ends meet as well. And the difference between a 401k loan and a hardship withdrawal is that with a hardship withdrawal, you just have to show that you have some sort of financial hardship, which may be not being able to pay your rent, not being able to pay your mortgage, and you don't have to pay that money back, right? You just have to pay the taxes on it. So those are just kind of ways to get cash quick if you need to, and if you need to quickly fill any gaps. And I think also too, just communication is key. It's like being in a relationship, dating, right? Communication is key. It's the same with your finances. One thing that financial companies never want you to do is to ghost them, right? Nobody wants to get ghosted, right? So it's like really important to communicate. If you can't pay your rent this month, if you can't pay your mortgage, if you're struggling with paying your car note, landlords may not accept that you can't pay, but they may work something out with you. They may spread out the payment, say, hey, split it into 2 or whatever it may be, but communicate with these companies and let them know that you're struggling as a country and as a world. We're going through this, together. So people understand, express it to your financial institution or whoever it is, because we all know that we're going through this together. It's not just you.
Do you believe businesses should have emergency funds? And how does one even begin calculating, how much to include in an emergency fund?
We talk about it all the time. You want to have an emergency fund. This is not, for some people, it's going to be hard to even think about building an emergency fund when you're trying to make ends meet. Obviously, with your business and your personal, you both need to have your own respective emergency fund. So we like to say in your personal life, you want to have 3 to 6 months. I think your business, you want to have the same. Please do so. Now is the time. If nothing else, let this be a wake-up call to understand why. At least start with at least 3 months of emergency funds. And when you're calculating that number, it's 3 times what your monthly expenses are. So in your personal life, it's 3 times what your household and expenses are to cover your living plus all of your debts. In your business, it's what it costs to cover your employees or any systems you pay to keep your business in place. That's basically how that should work. But I think obviously it's important to have an emergency fund in place. In a normal situation, I don't think that you should lean on your line of credits or your credit cards as your emergency fund. But I think that when you get into a situation like this, if you do have to leverage those things to get yourself through, you got to do what you got to do. Kind of use the debt and leverage it if necessary to make ends meet. Also building businesses that aren't too built on one event. You have to have other things in place and diversify your income so you're not, one thing goes wrong and you're out of luck.
So how would you encourage us to start thinking about perhaps diversifying those revenue streams? Is this a good long-term play period? Like, is this really going to set us up for success if we lean into it? I love your insight here.
Yeah. I think, sometimes in these, down times in life is when a lot of people will come out really prevailing, right? Because it forces them to reevaluate their business, reevaluate their lives. I know even personally with, owning a financial education business, right? Financial education is not the sexiest topic, right? People don't want to do this all the time. Like no one wants to talk about their finances, right? But even within my business years ago, I had to quickly realize like, okay, clients aren't going to always want to work with me one-on-one. They're not going to talk about their finances. There has to be other revenue streams, right? So it took me years to put these things in place, but I immediately was like, okay, I have to have books. I have to have digital products. I have to, have speaking engagements, online, offline. I have to have brand partnerships, consulting, opportunities, right? And so basically now I have all these different revenue streams that come in where I'm sure my business will take some hit with the effects of coronavirus, but it won't, I won't lose any quote unquote sleep at night, right? I don't have to worry about losing a roof over my head, thank God, right? So I think it's important to take a step back and see what other things can I put in place. Now, obviously a lot of these things, they may not happen overnight, but it's good to start preparing and getting them in place. So take a step back and see like, what other things can I do? Maybe that course you've been wanting to launch, but you've been dragging your feet on launching it. This may be a good time to do it, right? Yeah. Everything else is canceled. You're sitting at home, build a course, right? All you need is an iPhone and some internet and you're good to go. So I think that for a lot of people, this is going to truly help them think bigger and think wider than, okay, I'm just an event planner. No, you're more than that. You're an experience maker, and an experience maker can make experiences online and offline, and you can teach other people to do the same thing. And also even creating other businesses that I own that can bring in money for me as well that have nothing to do with personal finance. Right. Nothing at all, right? So I think it's really important to think bigger and just really sit down and make a list of all the things that you're good at, all the things that you enjoy doing, and think about ways to monetize that. So website is just financesdemystified.com. On Instagram, it's Finances Demystified, or you can follow me, Dominique Broadway. And I think we may try to just provide more information and resources around this, on our own or in conjunction with HoneyBooked. But I'll definitely drop some of these links here, and we'll follow up via email with resources as well.